In this video, I'm going to be sewing my little wiener dog Hank a new dog bed. So his current dog bed is a round burrow bed with the blanket on top that he burrows in, and he absolutely loves it. It's something I just got off Amazon when I got him as a puppy. However, you might be able to hear him actually messing with it now, and I'm going to show you what he does. But since having it, he has got a hole in it where he likes to bite on the bed to like self-soothe when he goes to sleep at night. So he's managed to get a hole, and there is stuffing everywhere all the time. Every day I'm picking up stuffing. And then the second issue with his current bed is that it's getting a little small. It still works for him, but I'd like to make this new bed a little bit bigger. So yeah, let me show you the bed and the culprit, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Here is Hank. As you can see, there's some fluff evidence. If we go a little closer, you can see where Hank likes to bite and self-soothe. He's managed to get a pretty decent sized hole where he likes to throw stuffing around everywhere out of. Also, he's managed to rip his blanket back. This used to be hooked all the way up to here, and then it was hooked over here as well. All right, so now you can see what I'm shooting for. I'll show you which fabrics I picked out. I tried to go for boyish colors because Hank's a boy, which was kind of difficult in my fabric stash because most of my fabrics are girly or pink. However, I found some of these green coordinating fabrics. This lighter green is actually just a bed sheet, which I thought would be fitting because he loves to burrow in our bed sheets. And I think that they're a little more cool than like that minky that you saw on his current bed. Anyways, so there's this lighter green. I have this darker green. It almost feels like a canvasy material. I thought this could be really good for the outer portion because it's sturdier than like this sheet material. And then I also have this wool, 2 yards, 60 inches wide. It's pretty soft, but I don't know if I'd want to put this on the inside because it might be a little itchy, but it's definitely thick and feels sturdy. So this is another option for the outside. So I think my two options are wool on the outside, the sturdy dark green one on the inside, or the sturdy dark green one on the outside and this sheet material on the inside. The other thing is I do want to try and put a little burrow blanket on it because he likes to be covered at night. So that's something to think about as well. I have a design in my head of how I'm going to sew this together, and I'm just going to have to see how it goes. I don't know for sure if it's going to work, and if not, we'll have to pivot a little bit. But we're going to start that way, and I'll try to draw it out so you guys can see what I'm thinking of. Anyways, I'm going to put the fabrics aside and let myself think about which ones I want to use. Let's jump to my sketchbook and I'll show you what I'm thinking. So Hank's current dog bed has a diameter of 19 inches. I'm thinking that I will go for a diameter of 2 feet or 24 inches. That seems like a decent size to me. Like I said, his current bed isn't too small, but it could be maybe a hair bigger. I want the dog bed to be round, and there's gonna be some side panels, like the current one. And then there's gonna be a blanket that attaches at the top seam of that side panel and maybe stops about there. So this much isn't covered, but the blanket would be here. And it hooks in somewhere. I don't really know if this made any sense. It makes sense in my head. I might just have to demonstrate as I go. Basically, I'm gonna start with rectangle sides hooked on the end to make a tube. So then you have this tube with a seam in the side. Then you're gonna hook, we have 2 of these, one in the outer, one in the lining. You're gonna hook those together, right sides together along one edge, incorporating the blanket onto that one edge. Then you're going to sew the other edge together, right sides out, so the seam's on the right side. Leave a gap, stuff it, sew it the rest of the way shut. Then you're gonna catch that edge with the seam on the right side when you close the bottom, right sides together, and leave a gap, flip it right side out, stuff the bottom a little bit, close the gap, and you should be good to go. In theory, it makes sense. We'll see. So all I really know is I want a 25-inch diameter for the circles because that incorporates seam allowance and the size of bed I want. I need to do the math to figure out what the circumference will be, and that'll tell me how long I need the rectangles to be. And then for the blanket, I think I'm just gonna eyeball it. I'll cut out 2 more circles like this, and I'll just cut off one edge so that it doesn't cover the entire thing. I only want it to cover up to the edge of the bed so he can still stick his head out if he wants when he's sleeping on it. Okay, let's go ahead and get started doing some math and cutting things out because I think that's all I can do at this point. Okay, so I have decided to go with the dark green and light green combo. I just worry that the wool might get too hot for Hank, and I don't want him to feel too hot in this bed. I do not have enough length in the dark green to do a full 78-inch rectangle for what I need to go around the circle piece. So I'm gonna have to piece it together, which is fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut out 7-inch wide rectangles long enough to make my 78-inch piece. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that in the light green as well. Also, side note, you should always iron your fabric before cutting. Do as I say, not as I do. This is a dog bed, so I figure if the measurements are a little off, it's not gonna hurt anything. I am doing the snip and rip method. I don't know if that's really what it's called, but that's what I'm calling it. So I cut this fabric just a little bit on the end. I think it was more like 8 inches just to give myself some extra room. And then I am just ripping it down because this is a long ways to try to measure and get a perfectly square rectangle. So, okay, and then I'm gonna need another one of those to get to the length I need. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that again. I'll measure about 8 to have plenty of room. I am going to snip and then rip. Also, I should mention, once I have these pieces down to a more manageable size, I do think I'll iron these. I just didn't feel like ironing all this fabric when I'm only gonna need that much of it. Minus, I guess, the circles I still need to cut out. Anyways, yeah, you get the point. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with this light green sheet. I'm thinking with this, since it's a full sheet, the full length of a bed, I should be able to get this in one go and not have to piece anything together. I was trying to figure out the best way to cut out these circles, and I remembered I have this. This is the top of a playpen I got for Hank when he was a puppy. This is a little bigger than the 25-inch diameter, but it seems like this is gonna be the best way to just trace this circle. And I'm gonna need 2 circles in each fabric. 1 in each for the bottom and 1 in each for the blanket top portion. So let's go ahead and cut those out. Another reason I was excited to do this project is it seemed like a stress-free way to test out my new sewing machine. I haven't really got the chance to figure it out yet. I found it on Facebook Marketplace for $100. Yeah, and I've been wanting to try it out. I feel like this project is pretty risk-free as far as like materials are all secondhand. And yeah, it's for my dog, so if it's not the prettiest, I don't think he's gonna mind. So yeah, this is a good chance for me to break that in. Okay, that was all of the pattern pieces. Now I'm gonna get to trimming these rectangles down to the correct size. And then I think we're ready to start the sewing process. Here, do you like that fabric? Is that gonna be a good bed? Oh, I think that's approval. This is gonna be for you. I decided to make these 8 inches just because I thought a bit taller might be better. So I went with 8 instead of 7. In the end, I think they'll be about 7 after seam allowance and everything. There's all the rectangles trimmed. The new diameter is 28 inches, which means that the circles have a circumference of 87.96 inches. I'm gonna round up to 88. That means each rectangle needs to be 88 inches long. I'm gonna go ahead and piece this together to get that much length. I know I have enough in the light green. And then I'm gonna hook the short ends to make them into loops, and then I'll check back in. Okay, the only green I have is this like lime. So honestly, I think I'm just gonna do black. And then that way I already have a bobbin wound. Okay, let me get the book and see for sure how I'm supposed to thread this. All right, here's the book that came with it. Let's learn how to use this thing. I think we should just go ahead and try some sewing. So first, I'm going to start out by sewing these green panels together to get one long panel. And I'm actually just going to use 1/4 inch seam allowance because I want to waste as little fabric as possible. Normally I'd probably pin this, but I think it's okay. I don't think that cut. Oh. Well, that would maybe be why. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. How did that even... Okay, first attempt, not great. Not great at all. What do I need to do here? Okay, I'm pretty sure everything is threaded right. The only other thing I can think is tension. Maybe let me get some scrap fabric, and then obviously I'm gonna need to seam rip this. Okay, it's a new day. Let's figure out why the sewing machine is not sewing correctly. Okay, so I continued to play around with this machine. I was getting pretty discouraged because this is what the underside of my stitching was looking like. What I ended up doing after doing some research is completely rethreading my machine. I believe it was threaded correctly and I did it the same the second go around, but it seemed to make a difference. I also switched the bobbin because I read if a bobbin is unevenly wound or maybe misshapen or broken somehow, maybe that could cause this bird nesting underneath the fabric. So I switched the bobbin, and this bottom row of threading is the first one I did, and it had some remnants of the nesting. And then this second one, you can see this is the underside and the top side. It's perfect. So I think I solved my issue. I'm gonna have to remember to not use the bobbin with the black thread on it. I thought about rethreading it and seeing if it was just how it was wound or if it was the bobbin itself. I don't really know, but I have so many extra bobbins that came with this machine that honestly, I might just toss it and not even worry about it. Anyways, I think we're good for now. Because none of this stitching should be seen, I am just gonna go ahead and keep, it's like a dark blue thread. I don't know if you can tell in the bobbin because I'm not really worried about it. So I have black thread on the top and a dark blue on the bottom, but it shouldn't be seen. So yeah, let's continue and we can get to sewing on the actual project. It's like something stuck. It's not a nest, but this was the piece that originally it was nesting really bad when I first started sewing on this. And so I think there could have been some threads still that I missed that got tangled because the actual stitching looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and sew on a scrap piece again, just to make sure everything's still good. It seems good. Okay, both rectangles are the correct length. So I'm gonna sew the short ends together, right sides together, making sure there's no twists in the tube. Now blanket pieces figured out, and I'm not gonna be super precise with this. Just want them to match, so I'm just gonna line them up together and cut across below where this piece is split. I think I'm just going to somewhat eyeball it. I'm just going to clip this how it is and sew along here, back stitching on either end. Okay, while it's right here hooked together, I am just gonna true up. You can see a little bit of the light green sticking out past the dark. I'm just gonna clean that up a little bit. Definitely not perfect, but a little bit better. Let's go ahead and sew along this edge and then go from there. Sheesh. Scares me every time. We stitched 1/2 inch from the edge. Now what I'm gonna do is flip that out, iron it. While I'm at it, I'm gonna press those seams I did on the rectangles, and then we'll start attaching all these pieces together. Let's go ahead and top stitch, and then we can start pinning all of these together. How does that every time? There's the top stitch. I know it's going to be hard to see on that dark green, but you can see it probably a little better on the light. Now we are going to catch this entire edge in between two of the rectangle pieces, the outer and the inner, so that the raw edge is caught on the wrong side of the rectangle. Again, probably easier for me to just do it and show you than to try to explain it. What I think is going to be easiest is hooking or clipping together the rectangles all around and then going back and adding this piece, just because trying to clip them all at once might get a little tedious. So these rectangles need to be right sides together. I'm just going to go ahead and line up two of these seams. One of the dark green seams won't be matched up with anything because the light green was all one piece and the dark one wasn't. Now that that's all clipped, I'm going to find the center of this blanket on the opposite point than where I top stitched, and I'm going to line this up with those seams that I matched on the rectangle, just to know that that's the center back. That is everything clipped. Let me make sure. Yeah, so when we turn it out, the dark will be on the outside and the light will be on the inside. I'm gonna go ahead and sew along this entire thing, back stitching at the start and end, and then we'll move back and see what it looks like. Let's hope this works. Let's see if that worked. Okay, I'm seeing a little spot where I wish that would have caught a little more. So what I might do is go back and just take a little more seam allowance. This side looks good. This side, there's a little bit of that raw edge sticking out. So I might go in and just fix that. Other than that, I think it's looking pretty good. So let me just go in right here and take a little more seam allowance. No more raw edges there. Now what I'm going to do is sew all along this bottom, just like this, with the raw edges out. and then leave a gap, and I'm gonna stuff this tube and then I'll sew the gap shut. And then when I'm sewing the bottom piece on right sides together, I'm gonna catch this edge. Let's go ahead and sew this all around, leaving a gap, and then we'll get to stuffing. So now that is attached, there is a gap here. Let's start stuffing this and see how it's looking. I feel like this could be a mess, but I just gotta go for it. Now I'm gonna clip these bottom pieces right sides together, capturing this seam, and then we will sew that. What did I do to your bed, huh? Are you gonna like your new bed? He's not quite sure about what I'm doing. Oh, he's investigating. Do you like your new bed? I'm realizing I think it's gonna be really, really difficult to sew this on and catch that edge while the tube's stuffed. So I think I'm gonna have to unstuff the whole thing, sew it on, leaving the gap, then stuff it, then finish sewing the small section I left, and finish stuffing the bottom, and then close it. But the good news is, you can see he's kind of terrorized this room, but I think he likes it. Huh? You like your new bed? Okay, there's it all clipped. I'm gonna go ahead and sew around, leaving a gap right where the gap in the sides is, and then I'll flip it right side out, stuff it, and hopefully I can close both these gaps at the same time at the end. I might have to hand sew it, which is fine. So let's keep going. Okay, moment of truth. It looks pretty good. As you can see, I have a hole that goes all the way through. This hole goes into the tube, which I'm gonna stuff, and then this hole goes into the bottom portion. Now what I'm going to do is stuff this and then just sew it shut just how I did before with raw edges out. And then I'll just probably stick that inside the bottom portion. And after I stuff the bottom portion, I'm probably just gonna hand stitch this shut, because I don't see how I'll be able to get my machine in between all these layers. I'll probably have to stitch this very bottom portion in by hand, and then I'll go on the inside and roll the inside portion in and stitch it by hand. But I think we're on the right track. Let's try stuffing this, hopefully for the last time. Now I'm gonna stuff inside the bottom portion. I'm just gonna flip the bottom portion closed for now. And then I'm gonna try and take the tube part to the sewing machine and just sew it shut for the sake of just being able to work with this and not have fluff go everywhere. Oh, there's fluff everywhere. I'm gonna get this cleaned up and I'm gonna hand sew the rest of it shut, and then we'll be ready for the final reveal. And most importantly, Hank's review. The final seam I need to sew is inside of here, so this could be a little tricky. Let's see if we can't just turn it inside out. I didn't even think of this, but this bed is totally reversible too. So that's pretty cool. I didn't even think of that. For this side, I'm going to once again ladder stitch this opening closed, and then we will be done. Okay, moment of truth. What do you think? Look, get it. What do you think of that? What's this ball? Get it. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Get it. Where'd it go? Oh, good boy. What's this? Get it. One thing I do wish I did differently is made the blanket start further back so that if he doesn't want to be under it, he can do that easier. But we'll see how he likes it. Tonight will be the teller. What? Oh, you like your bed? Do you like your new bed? All right, well, if tonight he gets some good use out of it and decides he likes it, I'll be sure to insert some clips of that. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye. Literally the second I stopped recording, he gets on it. Do you like your new bed? Well, I think we can say he likes it.